Basically, we're here today because we know that there are some tough conversations that need to be had in order to facilitate some actual change.
For me, I am a board of directors for Mountain Dreamer. We are a local nonprofit that we are here to fight for immigrant rights and also to educate the general public about immigrant rights. But my belief is that, and why I have a coffee shop, is we need to have community, we need to have conversation, and we need to have a warm and welcoming conversation and a warm and welcoming community. And that's what coffee does, that's what coffee shops do, and that's what great towns do.
Hi folks, my name is Deepan Dutta. I'm a local attorney and a former reporter at the Summit Daily News.
Hey all, I'm Evin. Me and my partner Tom, who's over there, we co-organized the walk in Breck.
My name is Consuela Redhorse. I'm here as myself, but I'm also one of your elected board members for the Summit School District.
My name is Isabel Rodríguez, and I am the program manager for the Cycle Clubs.
Pogue, some of you know me for the last 10 years as the executive director of the FERC, now the executive director of Peak Health Alliance.
First and foremost, we passed the Police Accountability and Integrity Bill. And it was a strong bipartisan effort. I was so pleased to see the level of commitment from those who are running the bill and for those of us there who are hearing the voices of our very positive and valued law enforcement partners who said they agreed it was time to make change. They were willing to sit down at a table with us and let us tell them what needed to stop. No more chokeholds, no more fleeing felon excuses, no more abuse of those people of color, people who are vulnerable, people who are marginalized and have not heard their voice heard. And we lead the nation in taking such a proactive approach at such a critically important time. We just passed a bill that those in our community who are undocumented, our dreamers, will now have access to health care on our individual marketplace and receive state subsidies and support to do that, just like everyone else living here in Colorado.
It's so easy to categorize us as Asian American. And you know what that does? You see my Asian first before you see my American. And I am an American. Born here, I love Johnny Cash, mac and cheese. I love Andre Matisse. I love skiing. I love hiking. I love my family. That is what you should choose to like me for or not like me for. Not because of the religion I practice in my home, who I choose to love, or that I'm of Chinese heritage. I mean, and I want to throw it to you a little bit, Alexandria. I think people will see a black American and still see you as American. My dad, born in Brooklyn, so often gets, "Oh, your English is so good, where did you learn it?"
Oh my God. There's too many of you crying.
So I was born and raised in Queens, New York City, to immigrant parents from Bangladesh. They came here in 1968, and back then it was called East Pakistan. It was part of a larger nation called Pakistan. So when they came to this country, they were essentially refugees. As you've heard from on the line, this question of where you're from can get very irritating. I'm from New York City, and I was always a stranger trying to fit in. They call it being a social chameleon that never changed my color. Because even though I've been in Colorado for 13 years, I became a Colorado lawyer and a Summit Daily News reporter, I don't carry those titles with me when I walk into a room. I carry this.
As I was sitting down there, I could feel my heart beating harder because it's something, you know, as you can't take this away, you know.
There was a lot of Asian violence in February and March. My son was bullied he was very bullied at school. Kids telling him, you have COVID. You brought COVID to this country because you're Chinese. And he didn't learn that at school. He learned that at home. He had a parent at home who, with their fear, extended that fear to their kids. And their kid extended that fear to mine.
This pain that a lot of us feel is real. And I've had my bouts of it in my marriage. There's my husband, we have 2 girls, biracial girls, and just like you were saying, we've had an experience with our daughter. Somebody saying something cross to her, and she coming home and telling me she's wishing she looked more like her daddy, who's white. And she's telling that to her African-American mother. It's time to be more loving. It's just time.
Mother, and everybody thinks we're wrong. Oh, I hate to judge us simply because our hair is long.
Discussions like that about race and racial politics and interactions with police don't really happen out here in social circles.
I think it's time that we do start to talk about race and some of the gaps in our community that seem to be easier to overlook than it should. So with Breckenridge Town Council, we are talking about initiatives to find equality where there isn't right now.
When we want to be inclusive, we have to intentionally do that. We can't just say, well, I'm not excluding anyone, and therefore I am being inclusive. It's the same argument of, well, I'm not a racist. I don't need you to not be a racist. I want you to be anti-racist.
I learned a lot from you guys today. I really did. And opened my eyes to how you guys deal with interactions sometimes that I don't even think about. A huge majority of us really care deeply about the community. I mean, look at where we're at. To ask for anything better and to be at a better place. I mean, and what's so cool about Summit County is that I think an overarching majority of us come up here because we love the outdoors.
Love Summit County. I grew up in Denver and I've lived in Breckenridge for almost 5 years and love participating in the outdoors. And it's not always the most welcoming community for women of color, for queer folks, for lots of people who can't afford it. So that's a big thing of where I want to bring the conversation as well, is making the outdoors more inclusive and equitable, and a space that everybody can enjoy, especially if that's what we say as a community, that it's welcome to everyone. It actually needs to be that.
Skiing, it's great. It is accessible to everybody, but how many minority or vulnerable families can afford the whole getup? But if we could create a program where we can make this accessible to families that are in need so that their children can still participate in these types of activities, that way we're being more inclusive.
So the Cycle Effect is a mountain biking program for young women. And we are committed to serving our Latina and minority population. So that's what we do. We are trying to get girls on bikes. We provide everything. We provide the helmet, we provide the bike, we provide everything that they need to get started. I've heard mountain biking is empowering, and I'm living it. And so we want to make sure that they have access to that sport, that they're getting out on the trails, that they're getting to know their community, because they are growing up here. And this is their home, and that is a sport that can also belong to them.
Basically why educated white women are the most likely to skew liberal, but the least likely to speak up. And so much of this plays into feminism, and so much of this plays into patriarchy. I read this book called Why Does the Patriarchy Persist? And what these psychologists argued is that the reason we still have the patriarchy is because women benefit from it by getting relationship, but not being seen or known. And so as women, we're constantly told our whole lives, don't be too loud, don't be too opinionated, don't think too much, don't stand up for that, or you know what, you're not gonna find a husband. Be quiet, don't speak up, stick to the status quo. And I think that's really been ingrained in us. So, you know, I think it's really important for us white women to kind of to say F that and to be like, our fear and our discomfort and our potential rejection is not worth the lives of other people. And so it's time for us to really disavow that and really do that soul work.
Yeah, so my name is Ben Brewer. I grew up in Breckenridge, and because of all of you and people like you here in the community, I've never felt so at home in my own community. And I think that my role here, having been on the Breckenridge Town Council, can be to convert this good energy and all of this amazing intelligence into actual measures that we can pass in our local governments. What I have here is a Google document, and it's basically just a brainstorm of ideas, and it has very specific things that are being suggested that we can pass in our communities at the local level, and then at the county level, and also at the state level.
Shannon Galpin, everyone. She is a artist advocate. If you've seen the Hope Hearts all around the county, this is the lady behind those Hope Hearts.
I've been a human rights activist, well, in part my whole life, but for the last 12 years in Afghanistan. So I'm used to being an ally, working on anti-racism, but more importantly, working in communities of color, but never in my own town. Hope, the idea that hope is not the soft sell. Hope is not the rainbow, glittery rainbow coming out of unicorn asses on greeting cards. Hope is the foundation to every single revolutionary movement we've ever had. Hope is the basis of how we move communities forward. It's the basis of every social justice activist I've ever met, and I think that we can look at every movement has had as basis that we can move forward in the idea that there's a better tomorrow.
I cannot vote. Okay, I've lived in this country for 10 years now, and you know, I haven't been able to vote. I pay taxes every year. Why can't I vote for my state leaders, for the people who I live in this town, I pay my taxes, I contribute just as much as any of you guys. And the only way that that can be changed is not by me coming here and talking to you. You can change that. Okay? Like once that thing comes around in the ballot, you can make that change for me.
We want to keep this conversation going until we see the change that we want to see in our government and in our services.
Because if we need to stand in solidarity, we need to be listening to each other constantly and talking about tough issues and taking those conversations head on.
Don't be afraid to lose certain friends over those arguments.
And then maybe too, if you know someone in your family that this could be helpful for, you know, talk to them about it, and you could be their accountability buddy.
I stand with you, next to you, shoulder to shoulder, and hope that I can continue to serve as your state representative for another 2 years.
What we need more of is compassionate listening. We need respect. We need to move forward in these foundations just as a whole, as a people, because there's so many ways to divide us. So let's just be generally more open as a people and more receptive, and I think that will also attribute to us moving forward and having more of an actual harmonious planet that we share. Why are we doing this to each other? We're just all on Earth trying to figure it out, trying to make money, trying to go on walks, trying to love our kids. Why are we adding all of these extra layers on it, making it harder than it has to be?
And I am how your day was, and you must on my face smile. I wish you'd take a minute for